I've just finished reading this book, and in this video I want to share the 3 Stoic lessons you can learn to help you retire more successfully or navigate what happens next. Welcome to the What Happens Next channel. Welcome to the What Happens Next channel, the channel dedicated to helping you navigate retirement or whatever happens next if you're in your 50s or 60s more successfully. I'm your host, Chris Dames, and I'm a chartered financial planner. And for 20 years now, I've been helping people plan for their retirement, retire successfully, and live successful what happens next chapters of their lives. And I find myself taking lessons from a bunch of different places, particularly from some of my favourite books and some of my favourite authors. And one of those authors is a guy called Ryan Holiday. Now, Ryan Holiday talks about Stoicism, the lessons we can learn and apply to our lives, about what the ancient Greeks and Romans learnt and taught us. And I love Stoic philosophy and the lessons it can teach us. And in this video, I want to share the 3 main lessons you can learn to help you navigate what happens next in your life. I'm really curious as well about whether you're going to agree with number 2. And I'd love to know about whether you do or not in the comments. While we're here, I'd also love for you to like this video and subscribe to the channel. We're on a mission with What Happens Next to help you and people like you navigate successfully the next stage of their lives. And the more people who get to view our videos, the more people we actively get to help. So thank you in advance for doing that. I really appreciate it. Without further ado, let's talk about the 3 Stoic lessons you can learn to help you live a more successful retirement or whatever happens next. And number 1 is probably one of the main tenets of Stoic philosophy, focusing on what we can control. Now, I remember probably 25 years ago now, I was working at a bank and I had a client, and this client used to phone me every single day for probably about 3 weeks until my boss said, "What are you playing at?" answering that call about their investments. And when their investments went up, as they did, they called me and said, "Oh, it's brilliant, it's gone up." And when they went down, they called me and said, "I'm really, really worried." Now, there's a lesson to be learned there about your relationship with risk when you're thinking about your own investments. But there's also an element about thinking about what we can control and what we can't. Because the reality is, when it comes to your wealth, your health, your relationships, and many things that are going to lead to a successful retirement, there's things you can't control. However, the good news is there's plenty that we can. When it comes to our financial plan, we can control the strategy. We can build a good longer term strategy. And whilst we can't control day-to-day markets, we can control how we react to those markets and make sure that we're taking the right action at the right time to benefit from our longer term success. When it comes to our social well-being in retirement, and certainly my experience is that often changes when we retire. Certainly my experience from speaking to my clients is, the people they spent loads of time with at work are now in a position where they're not spending that time at work, so they're having less social connection. And I think it's scary at any stage of our life to build new social relationships. And there's elements within social relationships we can't do anything about. We actually can't do anything about what other people think or what other people do. But we can be proactive to improve our social well-being. We can text a friend. We can make that call. We can join community and social groups to help us. And again, health is one element that there's elements that we can control and there's elements we can't. We can't control often getting unwell, but we can control our own health in terms of getting good sleep, having great exercise, and making sure that our nutrition is good to maximise the opportunity for positive health moving forward. So, tip 1, don't worry about what we can't control, focus on what we can. And if we focus on what we can control in all aspects of well-being in our lives, that will lead to a retirement well lived. My second Stoic tip is accept that everything changes. And if you're thinking about retirement, that change can be really scary. It can be very, and this is my word of the video, discombobulating. I'm glad I got that out on the first take. And there's one main reason why. We fear change as humans. Actually, we strive to get to consistency. But the reality is we need to face the fact that everything changes. And when we're retiring or thinking about what happens next, there's probably so much change going on in your lives, it's difficult to cope with. And the Stoics talked about this a lot. You know, there was a Stoic philosopher who said, the only constant is change. And actually, the Stoics can help us think about change in a more fundamental way. Because the Stoics would say, instead of trying to fight that change, appreciate that change is going to occur whether you like it or not, and embrace that change to make sure that you're having the most successful retirement possible. And my third tip is looking at finding purpose through virtue. So the book that I've most recently read is about the Stoic principle, the Stoic virtue of justice. And it talks about the fact that we've all got the opportunity to do well and do good in our lives. And actually, that ancient philosophy is really backed up by modern science. Because we know that the happiest people in the world actually give. They give their time, they give their effort, they give their energy, they give to their community. And it's why in What Happens Next we talk so much about community well-being. So what I'd suggest we do is when we're thinking about the next stage of our lives and making sure your retirement is a great one, I'd ask yourself the question, what can I do to help others? Because in my experience, in the Stoics' experience, and in all of the psychological evidence, we know that well-being's improved when we try to help others. So I'd love to know what you're doing or you're thinking about in this next stage of your lives to contribute to your community. It's one of the reasons we talk so actively about community well-being on What Happens Next. Because even though we know that we might need to have social connections and we need to make sure that we've got enough money to live the lives we want, one of the under-discussed areas is how we find purpose and meaning. And the Stoics would say, as well as all the modern research, that we find purpose and meaning through the value we add to other people's lives. So, firstly, focus on what you can control, and as much as you can, don't worry about stuff you can't. Number 2, in this period of fundamental change, accept that everything changes all the time, and we need to think about change as a constant in our life, and hopefully that will help you adapt to the changes you're going through when you're thinking about retirement now. And number 3, look at what purpose and meaning means in this stage of your life and think about how you're going to help others to make sure that during this stage of your life, it's the most meaningful next chapter possible. So they're the 3 main lessons the Stoics can teach us about retirement. If you're ready now for a bit of a deeper dive to plan for your retirement or whatever happens next, we interviewed 30 people in 2024 about what a retirement life well lived looks like. And we've done a video that collates all of the tips they share that you can click on there. That's it for today. Have a lovely remainder of the week for you, wherever you're doing and wherever you are. And we'll see you next time on What Happens Next.